Greetings, fellow citizens. I'm Seerthe6th, and welcome to the Inforunners. Today I'm joined by Mr. Execute, who is above me. And by the end of this episode, or in the middle, or whenever you choose, if you like what we have to say, then please like and subscribe and share this with anybody who you think would find this helpful. And also, feel free to join us on Discord. We would love to help you with Fix My Fleet, or just love to talk with you guys.
Yeah.
And now, with that being said, so this is basically one of the very older episodes of the Inforunners before me and even Execute were here. This was the originals when it was Hayes and just Dasein was here. So, in our both strong opinion, we believe that you should sell your fighters, and we're going to explain why. Don't just assume that just we don't care what you have to say, sell your fighters. If for some reason you want to keep a fighter, then please keep it because it's your choice and it's your money. We're just giving you recommendations. So just hear what we have to say. Maybe we can help you save some money and use that money toward a different ship. Now, Execute, would you like to explain why we are saying sell your fighters in general?
Generally, those ships do not, from the talks that we've had over the years and different interviews that Chris Roberts has said, I've actually interviewed him personally, so I've heard it from the horse's mouth.
Right.
The more expensive a ship costs before the game is released, generally that will scale. So to give you an example, say we're going to take an Idris and an Aurora. An Idris may be 10 times its value that it is now. So that might be equivalent to, when it first came out, it was $2,500. So that would make it $25,000. Where an Aurora won't increase at all. It'll probably still only be worth the $45 amount. And so that kind of, if you look at the way the ships are kind of staggered, your kind of size 1 or smaller size ships are all kind of $200 and under. And as you see, probably the most expensive of those advanced starters, so things like the Vulcan and the Terrapin, are right on that $200 threshold. So I guess what we've said for the longest time was like a simple one-line rule that we could give you, and I think it's kind of changed a little bit, and I think that's probably this video's been a while coming. We've had it on our we have an idea document where we put all our stuff down, and it's been sitting there for maybe 6 months plus. It's just high time we kind of went over it and kind of expanded out the rules, so to speak, a more comprehensive guide. Now that $200 don't buy ships under $200, that's still a really good simple rule to follow, but there's of course exceptions and stuff like that, and that's kind of what we're going to go through today. What ships actually kind of break that mold, and again, this is a generalized piece of information. We're kind of recommending, like, if you like that, like Sia said, if you like that one ship and that really speaks to you, don't let us stop doing that. This is a generalized guide to save money and the best bang for your buck, which again is an Aussie term, but I think that's kind of covered. I think you guys get it now. We're just trying to give you the best value for your money, and that's where we're going to go from today. So
Yeah. So one thing I would actually like to dive straight into is I actually have a buddy in my Ord Parisian Pigeon. His name is Black Revius. He's actually one of my really good friends ever since I started playing Star Citizen again once I got out of the military. And one thing he said is, well, he bought a Kraken. Cool. He wants to have a ship that is designed to carry smaller ships, which is 100% fine. He also has a bunch of fighters, and I was like, Black, my brother, listen to me. I get the fact that you need fighters for it, but I'm asking you, why do you need all these fighters now? Like, keep your saber. I know you love the saber, Black, and there's nothing against it, but all these other fighters that are light fighters, why not just buy them? Why not just melt that down, as long as there's not LTI on it, of course, or anything that comes with that package, like a helmet or anything, and just use that to get something else to support the Kraken so somebody else can fly. Like, I totally understand if you want to keep a couple small fighters just in case somebody like me who doesn't own a lot of small fighters, I can just hop on it and just in case we come out somewhere, use the fighter in whatever situation we're in. But
yeah, I was just going to
logically speaking, what's up?
I just want to add to that. So basically, if you have a bigger ship, it is very easy to earn a ship underneath due to the fact that
Exactly.
the bigger ship is Sorry about my phone. Very economically viable.
Fine.
You take, let's just say take something larger. So I'm going to pick something like, say, a reclaimer. Now, one mission in a reclaimer will probably be enough for you to buy an Aurora or something smaller like that. So if you are going for a fighter to escort that reclaimer, you could probably go into safe space, do a couple of jobs, and then buy that fighter in game. And rather than buying that ship now and not wasting the money, but not being economically viable with the money, you're better off to meld a couple of fighters together and maybe get something like that would work with the reclaimer. So something like a Crucible or something like that. Or I'm just giving you an example. It doesn't have to be a Crucible. You're just better to invest into a bigger and better ship.
One thing you got to take into account for people who are going to be watching this is that when you're buying a ship, so to speak, you're really supporting the game. You can say whatever you want. You can say you're giving CIG a donation. You can say it's an investment, but you get really nothing in return unless except the game itself and maybe a couple little in-game items and stuff like that. You can make your own argument. It happens every single time we have one of these episodes that you're not buying a ship, you're supporting CIG. Look, I get it. I 100% get it. I've been supporting CIG ever since the beginning too. I 100% understand. But the thing is that when you buy something like that, there's something that's probably going to be better that's going to come down the road, and you're just going to want to probably get that one too. So instead of having all the fighters, if you want to buy a fighter, try it out. And if something else comes along the way that makes more sense in terms of you earning money in-game so you can just buy that said fighter in-game, then it might be better just to do that. If you're absolutely set on combat and you want a bunch of fighters, then fine. Okay. If your job is to be a mercenary and to escort or anything, you get the idea. If that is the sole gameplay you're going to be evolving yourself around, then okay, I 100% get it. But we think even for the people who just want to do straight combat, it is never a bad idea to invest in a ship that is designed to make money elsewhere, because why have all your eggs in one basket? Same thing with doing a long-range cargo hull, like with a Caterpillar. You know what I mean? You have the option, throw all your money in and have a high return on investment by making 100,000 per run, or you can make smaller loads and you make less money, but at the same time you also have a small chance of losing everything you own. What's up? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Taking your example, this is the way I'd pitch it to someone that's like that. So someone that's really into combat. Let's just say they've got like 5 fighters, right?
I know a couple.
Yeah, I know a lot of people like that. Like a lot of our Fix My Fleet episodes are people that just have too many fighters. And what always ends up happening that we end up recommending is melding those ships and getting a bigger one, because it's really simple when you understand the math. Is a lot easier to earn under than it is to earn above. So look at it this way: if the ships are going to, certain ships, like especially the bigger ones, are going to increase a lot more in value, it's very simple to see that it's going to be easier to take a big ship and earn lots of little ships underneath it than have lots of little ships and try and get to one big one above. You know, it's really simple mathematics. And yeah, you might like all those little fighters, and that's great. But if you can get a bigger,
there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it. But if you've got that bigger combat ship, and you can go back to those little fighters, and I think the other real part that we kind of probably should talk about here is now versus then, because there's a lot of people that like the fighters in the game now, but they want to play them now, but they really want that better investment down the line. So you, if you can get a CCU that you can, you know, before release, melt all those ships and then turn that into whatever ship you want to, you know, your exit strategy, that's probably the best way to go, because then you can enjoy all your fighters now and get your bigger ship later.
So one thing that I could give an example of, and mind you, nothing is final right now. We're still clearly well within to alpha or pre-alpha, or whatever you want to call this. But you get the idea. We're not close to beta. Nothing is set in stone. So without further ado, back a while ago, we compared the ship buying price and the ship rental prices, and guess what ship was way up there? The Reclaimer. It was like 15 million UEC or something like
about
that.
12.
Compared to all. Okay, yeah, 12. Yeah, I couldn't remember the exact numbers, but like all the small fighters were like a little bit more or less than a million UEC, depending on the manufacturer and the rarity and stuff like that, depending on what CIG said that it's going to have the capabilities of. So there's there's so many ways to make money within Star Citizen that unless you 30K, that you can roughly make almost a million UEC within a week or so. Honestly, like I get there's people who have lives. I get it, and on a normal circumstances, without what's going on within the world, most people only have a couple hours before they would go back and forth between work. But if you have more time on your hand, you can spend 2 to 3 hours and do delivery missions, and you can make well over 60 grand
Mm.
and 60 grand UEC. In fact, I have a buddy at work who is just starting off in Star Citizen and asking me all these questions.
Yeah.
And he's like, why do I even need to do combat missions here? I can literally, I just made 60
Mm.
grand doing 3 cargo missions with a freelancer. And I told him, I mean, little side note, I told him, use the freelancer, don't use the
Mm.
Aurora. Like if they give you a freelancer, use the freelancer. And he is not regretting it since. So
Actually,
remember
that's a
that, folks.
really, really
Freelancer
good example. Even right now, you can very quickly
of buying
see.
a ship under $200.
Yeah, well, if you take, say, something like a freelancer, it does not earn as money as fast as, say, a caterpillar. Just that analogy there alone shows you how
Right.
this is going to roll out in the future.
Yeah, because there could be possibly bigger delivery missions and stuff when you have a caterpillar. I mean, I mean that's just us speculating. I mean, we're not going to get into that this episode, but the main thing is that we're trying to get across is that if you have a bigger ship, that probably means you're going to be able to use it for stuff that's going to get you more UEC compared to a smaller ship, which is probably going to be super cheap in game, which it's only going to be like maybe a week or so of grinding at the most if you're just lollygagging or you're just taking your time or whatever gameplay you're in, which
Mm.
I've seen firsthand. You could go from zero to hero with a space penguin, which is your Avenger Titan, where you could get a freelancer in game. People like Dig That 32, he's actually gone from zero to hero with multiple different ships. Paul or the Astropub, he's done zero to hero where he's bought ships in game and
Yep.
earned it. So it's there. I've seen people on Reddit who before they had long-term persistence in, they would record their data and they would start from zero and start grinding and get a space penguin, log how much money it took, and then they'll go from there and there. And so the proof is in the pudding. You also have renting. So if you really want to ship under $200, again, you can buy it, but you have the ability to get all this stuff in game, use it, and then make a decision before you even really buy it. So the question really is then, is it even worth it to purchase a fighter right now unless you're a brand new person starting off and you just said, oh, I like this, I think I'm going to like combat, and you click it and buy
Mm.
it, and then you realize maybe this is not the route I wanted to
Yeah.
take after all. You know what I mean?
This is definitely not a guide for newer players. We kind of recommend something like the Avenger Titan or just a starter pack or one ship that you really like. This is more
Right.
for
just
people
just
that,
get your foot in the water.
yeah, this is more for people that have kind of gone down the rabbit hole a bit and they've brought one too many ships, and it's kind of like a consolidation guide. Um, the other thing to look into, obviously, is if you do buy a particular ship, you do have to take into consideration how many crew are required to crew that ship, and you're
Yes,
going to
that's
be
a
able
big
to
one.
AI to do it for you if you don't have friends. So you also need to look
And they
into,
cost money too.
yeah. So you also need to look into how many crew the bigger ships use. Are you going to be able to fill those needs? This does at some point go in the opposite direction. So you know if you're going for, say, something like smaller to, say, something that's middle range like a constellation, that might be as far as you need to go. But then if you go further, that's where you're going to start to get into the problem of requiring multiple people and AI and stuff like that. But again, if
Like
you are,
going
yeah, if
like
you are
getting a
struggling,
hammerhead.
reach out on Discord, and we'll be more than happily help you. There are even other community members on the Discord that quite regularly help other people. So there is a bunch of people out there on our Discord, and our Discord's not the only one, but I just do know there's a very active section on our Discord that help other people at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, I try my best to be there sometimes, but sometimes you can't make it.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else we need to add at this one. I do also point out
So okay, if we
Go ahead.
if we are recommending people shouldn't buy fighters, then what do you think we should recommend people should be spending their money on? Like, let's say someone's budget is less than $200. Not everybody's situation is different in life. So
Uh,
if they don't have that much to do in the game and they have $200 to spend right now for something, what do you think they should buy then? Because we shouldn't just say for people who've been playing the game for a
yep.
while and have a couple ships here and there,
So,
what
so
should they buy then if they're actually thinking maybe I should melt my fighters, but I don't know what to buy?
yeah, well, see, it does become a little difficult. I again, if you've only got the one ship, I don't think you really need to go higher than a Titan, um, Avenger Titan. But this guide is really more for those people that have 3 or 4 fighters. I think they're better off to consolidate them into a bigger ship. And yeah, funnily enough, some of those bigger ships instantly start just over $200. So, you look at something like maybe one of the bigger fighters, like say a Super Hornet, and then you look at say something like a Constellation or a Star Runner. There's a really good example. A Star Runner is $225. You're looking at literally, if you got it at concept, it's like 180. So you're talking about an extra $45, and that's a lot of extra value. You're going from a 2-person fighter to a 4-person smuggling and data running vessel, and I think you'll find that you'll earn a lot more money with that than you would with a Super Hornet. And let's be honest, combat is not going to be every day of the week. We all know most people play on the weekends, and during the week it's kind of those long-term players, and they're probably going to be doing economic-based stuff while their friends are off at actual work. So I don't think fighters are going to be used as much as people realize. Yes, there will be missions that you can do on your own, but how long and viable is that one gameplay over and over and over, as opposed to say something like a Star Runner that gives you 2 options, and then you've got other ships in that area as well. You've got the Corsair, the Constellation, and then they are jack of all trade ships, and that you don't have to go much higher as well. Like you can go up to 275 and you get a Caterpillar, and that's a lot more cargo that you'll be able to maneuver in a ship like that, for example. And yeah, I think
Hmm.
you could get away with doing that on your own, as long as you say to save space. But again, you've got the option to add in some friends as well. You've got the modularity of a Caterpillar, so you can quickly see the options once you get over that $200 mark. Diversifies rather quickly, and so even if you like say we said 4 fighters, you could literally melt 4 and possibly turn that into 3 kind of ships just over $200, and that's a lot better value proposition than it is just 4 fighters. As we said though, if you kind of like your fighters, they do kind of work in tandem, so you can use them as an escort. But even then, I actually, you correct me if you think I'm wrong, one of those everyday valuable ships, so let's just take the Constellation. I think a Constellation would earn a fighter very quickly rather than a fighter earning a Constellation. I think that's kind of a no-brainer to most people, and that's
Yeah, you have the ability to carry 90 SCU, and you have the ability to shoot people, and you offer multi-crew, and you can transport a couple vehicles depending on what you're carrying. But I mean, I just feel like right now you're better off getting a multi-role ship rather than something that's very niche like a fighter that limits you to not a lot of other things you can do in the verse. That's just how I feel. Again, there's nothing wrong with fighters. I have a couple fighters myself. I
mm.
mainly use them though so I can do reviews on them and get footage. And a lot of my other stuff are larger and more economical ships like logistics ships and stuff. So I
And
mean, I myself don't really have that many fighters.
another really interesting thing that I've only really kind of just thought of this now, and I was thinking about the combat in Squadron 42, and if you actually finish Squadron 42, they're going to give you an 8 F8 Lightning. That's probably one of the best fighters in the game anyway, and you'll get it for free.
Uh, uh are they going to give you it, or are they going to
Yeah.
give you the ability to purchase it?
Oh, if they
I
give you
couldn't remember what it
if they give you
was.
the ability to purchase it, it's the same thing. But the point I'm trying to make is, if you actually, I remember way back when they were talking about if you stop playing Squadron 42, you'd be able to bring that fighter into the PU. But if you
Yeah.
end up earning the ability to only buy one, that's fine. But I remember them talking about you could earn a ship in Squadron 42 and bring it into the persistent universe. And if you can do that, then again, you've got at least one fighter to start the game with. Um, Again,
That's of course if you buy Squadron 42
yes,
and you complete the campaign.
and I know a lot of people that are not interested in Squadron 42, but I think
I know.
I
Yeah,
think
it's exactly the same
I,
thing.
and I can see, like, I know Osiris is really over the whole, like, waiting for them to finish that so they can get into to the
Answer the
actual
call.
PU. Yeah, lots of people on Salty Mike show say that as well. Look, I myself am kind of just, yep. I understand why they're doing it. It's financial reasons, so they'll bring that in and eventually get onto what most of us are looking forward to. But look, in regards to the sell your fighters, it's just a generalized rule to try and help you save money. If you like the fighter, then keep your fighters. But if you understand how the system is working, you quickly realize that the cheaper your ship is, the more scaled against you this game is. And as soon as you get above a ship that's generally at $200, there are little exceptions. So, like, say something like the Terrapin is $220. I would almost say at the moment that's probably right on the peak of the ships that are probably need to go. Things like the Vulcan is not in a good place for its price. The Terrapin is yet to be seen because it's got some gameplay there that we haven't seen yet, but that one's right on the borderline. But, like, again, a Terrapin costs the same as a Star Runner. Like, you look at when you kind of realize it's a really weird cusp right there. And most people say, well, I'll take the Star Runner over the Terrapin. The Terrapin's got no cargo space at all. It's just a weird place. So that's kind of where we set our rule at around $200. But you kind of have to look at it on a case by case basis, and you have to do, like any good savvy, what do you call it? Consumer, you have to look at what you're buying and buy that's the best for you.
I really got nothing else to add. I want to reiterate one more time for anybody going to watch this that, look, if you have a fighter and you want to keep it, keep it. We're not telling you to sell your ships. It's your money. You do what you want with it. But we feel like it'll be the best bang for your buck if you could funnel that money to something more, in a sense, that could help you make money rather than just sticking to combat. Something that you could guaranteeing yourself to constantly have to spend money into because you're going to be repairing, rearming, refueling, unless you have somebody there that can help you with that, such as a person with a Vulcan or Starfarer Gemini. You get the idea. So
I got one little thing to add, and I think Seer did the same thing I did, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, but what I did was, when I went into this game, a lot of the ships I first purchased were economic based ships. So I just not roll off the tongue. Things like the Starfarer, the Reclaimer, the Crucible, all those utility-based ships. Is that kind of what you did as well, with the intention of using them to earn money? So that's and that's kind of what I tend to recommend towards people. Like, consolidate your fighters and get one bigger economic-based ship that's along the lines of the gameplay that you would like to do, and then use that money that you get off that ship to payroll and snowball back into the fighters that you want to get. So, again, you could get a really large combat ship, like, say, rather than getting a bunch of fighters, you could get like a Hammerhead. It still has the same gameplay, and you can use that as you work as a mercenary.
Or a Redeemer.
There's a whole bunch of ships out there. You might be really into repair. You can get a Crucible. You go look into it. It doesn't matter the ship. You pick the gameplay you want, find the ship that's appropriate to the side grade in the economics-based vein, and basically use that to steamroll back into all those fighters you have. But like I said earlier, it really surprised me. Like, some of the Fix My Fleets we've done, we've seen people that have over... I know people that have got over 50 fighters, and it makes no sense to me. Like, how are you going to transport those fighters from one side of the solar system to the other? You're going to individually fly them backwards and forwards? Like, it's going to take forever.
Yeah, they don't even have a carrier.
Yeah, and that those people are going to literally have to buy carriers or hire NPCs to fly their planes for them to move them around. Where, again, if you have that one bigger ship or less bigger ships, as in, maybe 4 bigger ships rather than 50 fighters, they're going to be a lot easier to move her around. And also, they're going to retain their value a lot more, and that's kind of really important. And a lot of the things you'll see in all the guides that we do, all the Fix My Fleets, we are always consolidating people's stuff, taking the smaller ships and compressing them together and getting a bigger thing. And that the Fix My Fleet really came out of this whole sell my fleet mantra. So going back and revisiting this is just again a consolidation of the whole concept that we do in
Yep.
the fix my fleets.
There is one thing I would like to add off what you said. So if the other thing you can do is if you don't feel like selling them now, which is what Execute has always said, is have an exit strategy. So if you have something that's a lot less, like a Gladius, for example, something that's less than $100, and you want to, or even $100, whatever, you get the idea, and you want to have that, and you still use the ship, but you want to get something in the future, then that ship is an exit strategy. So if I have a Gladius and I know I like it, but I don't think I'm gonna use it that often as I think I will be, and a new ship comes out, then that ship becomes something I can CCU the other ship to and save myself some money. So then that is an exit strategy. And then you can CCU to it, and you can still hold on to the CCU because remember, you got to apply the CCU before it's final. So then if you ended up not liking, you're not thinking, oh, wasn't a good idea. I slept on it. I don't think I want the CCU anymore. You could throw it back and melt it, have that there and buyback still have your Gladius, and then you still have that decision later to pull it out of buyback and actually make that final purchase or do a different CCU. Like CitizenCon comes around once a year, so that is the time to get a bunch of CCUs that you may or may not use for those exit strategies.
And
Excuse
chain
me,
them
can't talk.
together is a really good thing.
Exactly.
So I actually have I got a free Gladius from the 10 referrals, and I turned that into a Cutlass that I used to fly around, which is a really good ship at the moment to play in the game. But I eventually plan to turn that into, say, something like a Corsair or a Star-Runner or a Constellation. And I have a bunch of CCUs in a chain that go through multiple ships all the way up. So I can, so for example, the first one's the mini miner. I've forgotten the
The Prospector?
that's the one. Yeah, so I got the Prospector, so I could try the Prospector for a little bit, get sick of that, and then I upgrade to the next one above, which I think is like the Corsair, and then I could try that for a little bit when that eventually comes out. If I don't like it, I can go up to something bigger and stuff like that. So that's another way you can move up through the things and experience a few different fighters as you go through. Well, not fighters, but ships as you go through. All right.
All right. Well, I think I've said all my pieces. So if there's nothing else you have to say, Execute, then please close us out.
Yep. Leave a comment below. Let us know what you think of this kind of thought. I guess it's kind of like almost like a mantra here, but it's just something that we believe in. It's basically saves you a lot of money in the long run. So let us know your thoughts below. Do you own a lot of fighters yourself? And if you do own a lot of fighters, are you a bit worried that they all do the similar thing? And do you think you're going to retain your value and stuff like that? Let us know in the comments below. And let us know if you've also consolidated your fleet and turned it into something bigger, and are you happy with your decision as well? All right. He's been Seer, I've been Execute, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Later.